Hello, it's Westfalls. And this video is about Hacks. Hacks Money, of course, a globally permanently banned Melee competitor who released a tweet today talking about how, because of that permanent global banishment, he attempted suicide a few months ago on August 20th, 2024. In this suicide attempt, he jumped in front of a subway train in New York City, and thankfully he lived, but he had to have his right leg amputated from the knee down, and he sustained some other injuries, which you could see in his later videos after the incident. He had a scar on his head, multiple scars, one on his forehead, one on the side of his head, and he had bruises on his arms. But the leg amputation, of course, was the big one. And this is a life-changing, arguably debilitating injury. I mean, there are a lot of things that he just cannot do now with the prosthetic leg that he has. And thankfully, he can walk with a prosthetic leg. But it's a struggle, as we could see on the Xanadu live streams in the tournament that he just participated in. We could see that he was struggling to walk, and he had to sort of prop his leg in a way. He had his right leg was straight, sort of in an unnatural position. I don't really see people play Melee like that. But then his left leg was bent, sort of like you would normally see when someone is sitting and playing Melee. And that's because of the prosthetic. But, he can't, I doubt he can run. I doubt he can play sports. I doubt exercise is very easy. I'm sure it's very painful. There's such a thing as phantom pain from amputated limbs. So I'm sure it's very painful. It's very hard to, get around, as we could see. But this is his life now, and it's his life because of the Melee community. He's spent over half of his life now. He was 12, 13, or 14 when he started playing Melee competitively, and he's 30 now. And in the time between those points, I mean, a lot has happened. He broke his hands famously, and so he got multiple surgeries on his hands and his wrists in order to be able to play Melee again. But of course, his hands kept hurting, so he took another hiatus from Melee and created the box, which now a lot of people, including myself, play on that controller. So he invented basically a whole side of the game, like a whole new way to play the game without having pain, without having to deal with, nonsense like getting notches for your controller or constantly having to modify it, getting it sent to a modder and stuff, constantly having to change controllers. Different controllers have different feel, all of that stuff. You don't have to deal with that anymore thanks to the box. And, a lot of people say that the box needs to be banned and all of this nonsense, including the people that want hacks banned, non-coincidentally. A lot of them are anti-box truthers. And they go on Blue Sky, like we saw with the mech tweet. If you haven't seen, there are guys on Blue Sky that are in the Melee community that are ranting about how Hacks is a cheater, and I don't know why everyone wants this lame cheater unbanned. And that's sort of the mindset of the people that want Hacks banned. It's, guys like Toph and Mikey who, when Hacks was getting banned, were saying, Hacks was white supremacist dog whistling.
Like, hey man, probably really not cool that you're putting out this doc with some really heavy conspiracy bullshit and some white supremacist dog whistling and some really inexcusable language about Samox. That's probably not cool, and you should really stop.
And that Hacks was like QAnon. And, you got these people on Blue Sky who I'm sure were thinking the same things at the time, or maybe subconsciously that was sort of, those were the alarm bells that were going off in their mind. So they had to get rid of this brown guy from New York City who equated Trump to Hitler, Mao, and Stalin in his initial video that he was banned for. That guy's the super alt-right Nazi, basically, because everyone's an alt-right Nazi according to these people. But anyway, the point is that Hacks was driven to this by the actions and words of the community that he thought he was a part of, and that he's desperately begging and pleading to be a part of again, and has been for years now. He's been subject to attacks everywhere he goes online. Attacks money. I mean, Reddit, Twitter, YouTube. The replies are always, you should be banned forever. You should get help. don't interact with Melee, you know. And this is a guy who didn't do anything really to justify this response. I mean, you can watch his video and you could say that, sure, it's exaggerated at points. Sure, he kind of has a specific vendetta against Leffen because of, personal issues between the two. But he was essentially positing that there is a social problem with Melee and that there's this hive mind culture that has infested it. And that's just true. I mean, he was wrong to appoint Leffen as the headmaster of it all and the puppet master that is just, that just has the community on his strings specifically. I don't really think it's that. I think it's much more of a symptom of the wider societal shift than it is one specific person. But all of these people are intertwined with that societal shift. They're all on one side. And obviously, Hacks sort of sides with them politically because, like I said, he compared Trump to Hitler. And, he's saying online, constantly disavowing people like Mech and Manalord and everyone else that's banned for quote-unquote transphobia or quote-unquote bigotry, whatever. He's constantly distancing himself from guys like Zion and whoever because he sees himself as different. He says that the Mana Monthly people promote hate crimes. That is a literal quote from Hacks. And this is just so typical. It's people that, hate others for literally no reason. I mean, can anyone sufficiently, make a case for why Hacks deserves to still be banned 3.5 years after the video was released? And he's groveled and apologized for the better part of those 3 years, No one can really justify it at all. So he's been banned this entire time. He got unbanned in New York City only, with stipulations that were ridiculous and draconian. Like, one of the stipulations to unban him was that he can never TO the nightclub again, which is specifically cruel because Hacks was the originator of Hacks' nightclub, right? That was his tournament. But when he was banned and he became controversial and, you started getting banned for even mentioning Hacks in Twitch chats that are, streaming Melee, all of a sudden they changed the name to The Nightclub and, I think they got a whole new group of TOs or something. It's the same venue though, and it's his tournament series, but they took it from him and then they literally erased his name from it, 1984 style, just like they erased his name from a tipped off VOD of him playing against Moff, the Ice Climbers player. You can literally look it up. I'll throw a screenshot on screen where it just says Fox instead of Hacks Fox because the guy is erased 1984 style, from some of these people's minds. He's wiped, he's no longer a person. And that's how they treat people when they're canceled. I mean, you can look at Zion's name on Coinbox VODs from Aklo. Aklo, his editor, uploaded this. I don't know if Aklo signed off on this specifically, but I mean, this is indicative of how the community feels about these people. You can look at the video, and Aklo's video literally has Zion's name blocked out in the video. So it's like he's playing against redacted, literally. But that's how it is with the Smash community. You commit one quote-unquote offense in their eyes, which is just anything that they don't like, anything that makes them, reflect and think for half a second. Say anything like that, and, you're off. Say anything that sets off the subconscious programming that, Nazi, bigot, bad, racist, transphobe, anything that does that, and you're gone permanently. That's what's happened to a lot of people. That's what happened to Hacks. Because when Hacks was conditionally unbanned in New York City, they told him you can't talk about your ban at all. You can't, appeal your ban globally, or you're banned again from our tournaments. And so because he was only allowed to attend the nightclub Tipped Off, which was the only major he was allowed to attend, the other NYC events like Function and whatever, and then he was allowed to attend Smash Factor in Mexico, and I believe DreamHack Las Vegas or something like that. There was a DreamHack on the West Coast that he attended as well, but it was also not a major. So the only major he was allowed to attend in 2023 was Tipped Off. Nothing else. Also the Come Up in Ontario he attended, but that's sort of beside the point. We're just listing tournaments that he attended, I guess. But He was banned from Genesis, banned from Big House, banned from every single major other than Tipped Off. And so when January 2024 rolled around, and he had released a ban appeal in October 2023 that apparently put him in hot water with the New York City TOs because, like I said, he's just not allowed to talk about his ban at all, or he's banned again. But they let him slide in this video that's 3 minutes long, where he says, basically, I apologize to Left and I apologize to the Melee community. I did wrong. Everything that I did in 2021 and 2022 and whatever, all of that was bad and, unforgivable. And I apologize. And I hope the community lets me back in now. And of course, they didn't. And so 3 months later, in January 2024, when Genesis was right around the corner, he was desperate to get back in because he wanted to attend Genesis. That is the biggest tournament in Melee. So the first major of the year, the most important one, he wants to attend it. He made a shot-in-the-dark video desperately to try to get unbanned from Genesis, making his case again from evidence.zip 2, basically saying Leffen was, harassing people back in the day and didn't get banned, making the case that if Leffen's not banned for harassing HBox and himself, Hacks, that how is Hacks banned and still banned, after Leffen was never banned for those things and was only banned in 2013 in Sweden alone specifically, and then unbanned like a year later, even with all these cases of physical assaults, like in person, like screaming in a deaf kid's ear, and, assaulting people, like slapping people, kicking seats and whatever it was in person and it was like targeted harassment. And then years later in 2018 and 2019, he was making harassment campaigns against Hacks and HBox, specifically HBox, online, saying he hates HBox as a person. That's a famous quote from Toph or Scar. I can't remember one of them. Speaking of Toph, that's the white supremacist dog whistling, by the way. But, that Hacks is a white supremacist dog whistler, and that's not okay, And he totally did that. And so he needs to be banned forever. But Leffen, hating HBox as a person, not as a character, not Jigglypuff, hating HBox as a person and making countless videos shitting on him and, comparing him to the devil or whatever. That's kosher, okay? That's not ban-worthy behavior. So that's very rich. And after Hacks makes this video in January 2024, he is then rebanned from New York City. He is upgraded to being permanently banned globally by all of the TOs that signed off on him being indefinitely banned. And so this just makes him spiral. And over the next few months, he has, I believe, the worst months of his entire life. Because it's just seemingly, his situation has just gotten significantly worse. He can't play in Melee tournaments, even like he was in 2023, going to locals and stuff. Essentially, to him, his life is over. And so this starts the downward spiral that leads to the suicide attempt 7 months later, which, now we're aware of, but Mech made us aware of it before and was summarily attacked for that. Unjustifiably. I mean, he wasn't told to keep it under wraps. He just, made people aware of it. And that's not good for the Melee community, And that's the reason why Hacks didn't make that public until today. Because he knew that saying that he attempted suicide, it was going to reflect absolutely terribly upon the community and the TOs. Because they pushed him to commit suicide. And, well, that's just the truth. It's going to reflect badly upon them because it's true. Everyone saw it. Everyone that's been involved in the situation and has watched it play out, kept up with the ban appeals and the ban notices and all of Hacks' apologies, everyone knows that even if you agreed with his ban initially, like if you were one of these people who actually agreed that he should be banned temporarily after the video and you thought that he was having some kind of psychotic break or something, even a lot of people after that were like, okay, he should definitely be unbanned after like a year or something and let back in and everyone just, forget about it, basically. Like, allow him to assimilate back into the community. But unfortunately, that was not a big enough portion of the community, and that was definitely not the portion of the community that has sway over who's banned and who's unbanned, because he has stayed banned and he's even gotten more banned than he was before, if that was even possible. But just a a terrible situation. I feel for Hacks. I'm not a fan of how he constantly cucks to the TOs and the community that hates him still. I mean, and I think that they're just going to think that he's more crazy after this, like, especially the fact that he didn't acknowledge it for so long. Like, people are going to probably not... the people that have the power to unban him are probably not going to think, man, we should unban him after he attempted suicide. Like, it puts them between a rock and a hard place after that. Like, does it take literally trying to kill yourself to get unbanned in this Smash community? It might. It just might. So, out of anyone that's banned, I do think that Hacks has the best chance of getting unbanned because he has debased himself so much, pleaded and begged so much. I mean, dozens of apologies over tweets and videos. Over years now, 3.5 years of being banned. And capitulating at every point, begging them to let him back in. I think if anyone's getting unbanned, it's probably him. It's probably not No Fluxes. It's probably not Mech. It's probably not Manalord. It's probably not A Rookie or Shiz, even though all of those people also should be unbanned because none of them did anything that was ban-worthy. We're just going to have to see what happens. I don't know. The community in the replies is saying, oh, let's go, Hacks. Like, oh, good to see that you're alive. They're like acting like this was not brought on by the community's response to him and the TOs and everything. And they're just ignoring that whole angle when that is the entire story here. I mean, Hacks is mentally ill. He was attacked and antagonized for years by the TOs for no reason, by the community for no reason. They banned him and kept him away from his life's passion and his friends and everything. I mean, they all backstabbed him. They all, left him out in the cold, basically. And all for what? What is the principle here? It just doesn't exist. So that's the Hack situation. A lot more I could talk about, really. I mean, all of Hacks' contributions to the game, the whole saga with evidence.zip 2, the whole breakdown, it could be done, but I think we'll just leave it here. And man, it's terrible. And what more can you say? Thank you and good night.